Something's happening in Florida. Behind closed doors in labs and government offices, a small group of senior research scientists, including the state's own Surgeon General, Dr. Joseph Ladapo, are stepping out of the shadows. They're risking everything, their careers, their reputations, even their lives, to expose what may be the largest crime against humanity in modern history. These aren't fringe theorists, these are world-renowned experts backed by data and credibility, pointing directly at powerful figures like Bill Gates, Anthony Fauci, and the global health establishment. Their claim? The mRNA vaccines aren't just medical treatments, they're weapons of population control. According to official data released by the Florida Department of Health, in collaboration with scientists from MIT, something deeply disturbing is happening. All-cause mortality is surging, and the patterns can no longer be dismissed. The evidence is stacking up. The jab has already caused an alarming number of deaths. But the most chilling part? This might only be the beginning. Because according to the data, the death rate isn't just rising, it's accelerating. And if the current trend continues, we're headed towards a peak event so catastrophic, it could resemble a near extinction scenario. Before we dive in, join the TPV free speech community over on Soju. Soju is a digital space where ideas and information can take place without any annoying algorithms or restrictive rules getting in the way of free expression. For years, the global elite have been openly telegraphing their plans to slash the world's population from over 8 billion down to a so-called sustainable 500 million. They've whispered it in white papers, printed it on guidestones, and spoken it aloud at global summits. But most people, they chose to look away, to plug their ears, scroll their screens, and pretend everything was fine. Those days are officially over. The veil is lifting, and the data is impossible to ignore. Just like in many parts of the world, Florida is now seeing a dramatic surge in excess deaths. And this time, it's not being swept under the rug. The study, led by Dr. Ladapo, Florida's Surgeon General, alongside 2 senior MIT research scientists, was published as a preprint on April the 29th. But this isn't just another academic paper. It's a series of devastating truth bombs, each one backed by official government data. And together, they paint a picture that's impossible to ignore. MIT data scientist Steve Kirsch did not mince his words when he reviewed the findings. He called it a train wreck. As he wrote on his Substack, vaccines should never increase all-cause mortality. To earlier generations, that would have been common sense. But today, in a society anaesthetized by Big Pharma and manipulated by corporate media, that statement is treated as heresy. But here's the good news. Not everyone is asleep at the wheel. Governor Ron DeSantis and his administration are refusing to look away. They're digging into the data, confronting the narrative, and pulling back the curtain on what they believe is a global depopulation agenda, engineered, coordinated, and already in motion. Because now the question isn't, is this really happening? It's how far are they willing to go before the world wakes up?
The mass injecting of more than half the world's population with that drug is the worst thing that has ever happened in the history of our species, and it has happened now. And I know that's very, very difficult for a lot of people to accept, particularly people who've had it. But we are now living in the aftermath of that. And the repercussions are going to go on, I'm afraid, for a very long time. It's not like, oh, lots of people died, and now they've finished dying, and obviously we want justice. People will keep dying, keep being extremely ill, probably be infertile, affected in all kinds of different ways for years and years, I'm afraid. And people have to kind of accept that thing took place. And anybody who was involved at any kind of high level with making that happen is not your friend.
When the FDA asked the federal judge to delay the release until 2076, over 50 years from now, I can't...
And you're a record skip at that point. Say that again, because people thought this was a joke. This is real.
As Dr. Peter McCullough explains, the science is finally catching up. Peer-reviewed studies, real research, not pharma-sponsored PR, are starting to arrive at the same chilling conclusion. The spike protein is a bioweapon. Not metaphorically, not hypothetically, but by the strict definitions used in military biowarfare protocols.
As a doctor, I have never seen something so injurious to the human body. It invades the brain. It invades the heart. It causes brain and heart damage. It invades the bone marrow. It stimulates antibodies to actually start to attack our own platelets and our other cells in our body. It causes blood clotting and damage to blood vessels like we've never seen, Data from University of Pittsburgh suggesting it causes cancer. Since when do we have a protein that actually injures the brain, injures the heart, the bone marrow, the immune system, causes blood clotting, and potentially causes cancer in a single protein? It's a weapon. In fact, there are 3 papers, one by Farkas, published in Military Medicine, and 2 by Yen, published in preprint. They've actually concluded it is a bioweapon. It is a bioweapon. According to strict military criteria, it's a bioweapon.
Never forget how they treated us while pushing this military-grade bioweapon onto the world. They locked us in our homes. They forced experimental injections into millions of arms under threat, coercion, and lies. Then, they tried to seal the data until the year 2076 because they knew. They knew what they had done, and they were terrified of what would happen if the truth ever saw daylight. And when we dared to ask questions, they didn't answer. They silenced us, mocked us, punished us. Across the world, from China to the US, Europe to Australia, officials fell in line. They danced to the tune of the global elites and turned authoritarian overnight. Not to protect us, not because we broke any laws, but because we refused to wear masks that didn't even protect anybody. Because we refused to kneel. And that to them was the ultimate crime. Independent thought and refusal to submit.
Oh, get off of me! Get off! Let go of his vest. Let go of his
He's choking me! He's choking me! What the f***?
Let go
Get
of
the
his
f*** off me! Get the
Don't
f***
touch him. Stop.
you! Get the f*** off me! What are you doing?
You just kicked me.
Choking me, dude! What the f***? You're f*** in the head! You're f***.
What station? What?
I'll give you those details once she's in the back.
She's got a note from the doctor. Oh, I can feel the pride running through my bones. Big ass egos.
So they brought the full weight of the system down on us. Censorship, job loss, arrests, digital blacklisting. All for asking the most basic questions. And given how much the elite were hiding, it's no wonder they ordered their enforcers to be so heavy-handed. But here's where it gets darker. Because what your family doctor, yes, the one you've trusted for years, and your child's paediatrician are covering up right now, makes the last 4 years look like a trial run. The real show is just beginning. And once you hear what they've been keeping from you, you'll never look at the system the same way again. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with all the details. So, given everything we now know, and the slow-motion disaster unfolding right in front of our eyes, how can they possibly justify continuing to push mRNA vaccines on us, and worse, on our children? Well, the answer is simple. They can't. At least, not honestly. So instead they lie, they censor, they gaslight, and they double down, because the truth is too dangerous for them to admit. Ever wonder why your paediatrician gets visibly upset, or even threats to kick you out of their office, just for asking questions about the childhood vaccine schedule? Well, as RFK Jr. explains, there's a very specific reason for that. And once you hear it, everything starts to make sense.
Part of the responsibility of being a parent is, unfortunately, is to not trust everything your doctor says and to understand that the medical that doctors have been co-opted by the medical cartel, that the medical schools are now run by pharmaceutical companies, they're funded by them, and that the doctors believe mainly what they're doing. They're also heavily compensated. A typical pediatrician's office makes about 50% of its funding comes from vaccines, not actually from selling the individual vaccines, from the traffic. I mean, when I was a kid, I went to the doctor when I needed stitches, and that's it. And today, every kid goes to the doctor at least 10 times to get their vaccines, and that foot traffic in and out of the office is a major part of the business plan for the pediatrician office. And they're also then rewarded by Blue Cross Blue Shield, which has a reward schedule for had pediatricians who vaccinate 80 or 85% of the kids in their office get these giant bonuses, I think $40 or $400 per kid, huge amounts of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars that they make, making sure that 85% of the kids are vaccinated. And that's why they throw you out of the office if you fight back. It's not because they care so much about your particular kid. It's that you'll throw off the metrics and you'll lose them their bonuses. And so and those schedules have now been published, so people can actually go look at the Blue Cross Blue Shield schedule, and you can see what your pediatrician is making, and it's huge amounts of money from complying. And so, they have these perverse incentives that make it so that they're not really treating your kid as an individual patient. And so your job in a democracy, in today's democracy, is to do your own research. And that's hard to do, but you need to do it to protect your child.
The audacity of these so-called medical professionals to pressure, guilt and coerce you into submitting yourself and your children to experimental injections is truly staggering, especially when you realise the truth. They don't actually know what they're talking about. Seriously, they don't have a clue. They're literally unqualified.
People with the top of the top qualifications in the medical world.
And the story they've been told by their colleagues, by public health, by their pharmaceutical industry sponsored medical education was in fact a grand lie.
So when you first started out to be a doctor, what kind of training did you get on vaccines?
Honestly, I don't remember very much conversation at all.
We were just taught that they help prevent disease.
We were told on our rotations that vaccines were safe and effective. Here's the schedule.
We are not taught what's in those vaccines. We are just taught what the schedule is like.
Safe and effective, and they've saved millions of lives. We learned the schedule. We did not learn what was in them.
It was more philosophically vaccines than the science behind it, I guess, if you will.
As you know, medical doctors don't have a lot of training in vaccines.
If you are one of those people who knows more than doctors, that's fine, no vaccinations, but you're not allowed to go to the doctor anymore. Okay? Why would you even want to go to a doctor who knows less than you do?
It's amazing, but they didn't teach us very much.
Very little. Very little. And what you got basically was told, these are the things that you need to give to your patients.
It was just more about administration of the vaccines rather than the real effects and risks associated with them.
Here's the schedule. These are the saviors of mankind. They're safe, and you need to make sure everybody's vaccinated.
In the field of vaccines, everything is great. Everything is safe and effective. Everything has been determined. There is no need to go back and look at it again.
Just like everybody else, I have to go to the insert and look what's in it. I don't know what they put in vaccines.
And so I kind of thought that they were saline water and like bits of viruses and it, super safe.
Yeah, you learn about adjuvants and you learn about the immune system and how it works, but as far as what the vaccine actually does, and you never heard about the negative effect of a vaccine. Never.
Zero. None.
The whole argument of your doctor has done all this research. Well, if they've done it on their own, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, since there was no discussion of there being anything bad about vaccines, and unless you spend some time on your own, investigating, you have the presumption that vaccines are good and that everyone should get them and that you should make sure that every child coming into your office is getting them on schedule or they're going to have some horrible illness.
So there wasn't any training. There wasn't any looking at side effects. There wasn't any of that. So nothing.
Would an immunologist be probably, of all the medical professions, someone that is near to being an expert?
I would say no one is an expert in vaccines, absolutely no one.
Parents are,
Because,
by the way.
yes, because no one is being taught about vaccines in schools. And so basically in vaccine field, you really have to be a self-taught expert.
For years, we've been urging people, do your own research. Because once you start digging, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. And that's exactly what the elite fear the most, an informed public. Not just everyday citizens, but doctors too. Because the moment medical professionals stop blindly following orders and start asking the right questions, the whole house of cards begins to fall. Here at The People's Voice, we're determined to continue exposing the crimes of the elites, but we need your help.